the Google Guardian Online Learning Academy. Tonight, we have Stacey Jemison, who is here going over Windows 10 basics. This one is going to be great because many of us are working with either Chromebooks or a Windows 10 device. And if you're from Livingston Parish, Windows 10 it is. So here are some quick tips and tricks. Stacey, you take it away.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be with you tonight. Thank you, Nikki, for letting me be a part of this awesome event. I've peeked into some of the sessions, and it looks like we've got some really great information out there. And I'm looking forward to the great information that we have coming in. So if this is your first session, awesome. If you're joining us after we've recorded it, that's great. We'll have a library of great stuff once we're finished. So we'll go ahead and get started. I will tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Stacey Jemison. I am currently a principal designee. That's a fancy term for assistant principal at an elementary school at French Settlement Elementary down in sort of the bottom part of Livingston Parish. I'm a Google Certified Educator Level 2. I worked on that during our quarantine time, and I learned so much, and it was such a great time for me to learn, but it was also a great time for me to build my community of online resources and people. And so that was a big bonus for me. I taught in the elementary classroom for about 12 years. I taught also on the college level for about 4 years in the Department of Teaching and Learning at Southeastern Louisiana University. I also served as an instructional coach, both the school level and the district level. And I'm starting my second year as a school administrator, and I absolutely love it. I come home every day exhausted. And I was telling Nikki earlier, I did carpool in the rain today. And so that's always fun. But I really can't say that there's anywhere that I would rather be. I love it. Fun fact about myself, you can see my two daughters on the screen. This year, they both graduated. And one of them graduated from high school and one graduated from college. But they both graduated at the exact same time. The one that you see on the screen in purple, that's my daughter, Jessie, and she graduated from high school this year. She is going into nursing, and today was her very first day of college. And so I know that she was excited to get started with that. My daughter that's in the background in the green cap and gown, her name is Jenny, and she just graduated in accounting. She also just got married. Another fun fact, Miss Nikki Laverne taught both of my daughters when they were at Doyle High School.
I did, and I loved having both of them. They were both wonderful students, and they were funny. I loved them.
Well, you are still one of their favorite teachers ever. So, so glad we're friends. All right, so let's move into our presentation. Today's seminar really has two parts to it. The first part, I want to tell you about some keyboard shortcuts, and what those are. It's you're just basically using a combination of keys on your keyboard to perform particular things very efficiently. We want to work smart, not hard, right? And so sometimes taking a shortcut will help us to get things done more quickly. And also, it takes less steps. For example, if I'm going to use my mouse to do something, it might take 2 or 3 clicks. But with a keyboard shortcut, boom, it's done. So I want to share some of those with you today. And then the second part of our seminar today is what I like to call game changers. These are just basic Windows 10 facts that you will likely use every day, or you may already use them every day. And they really are game changers. They might not save your life, but they could save your sanity. And so I wanted to make sure and share those with you because I really do use these every single time I'm on the computer. And so anyway, so that's the two parts of our seminar today. So the first part, we're talking about keyboard shortcuts. So listen to this quote. The simplest things are overlooked, and yet it's the simplest things that are the most essential. And sometimes it's those little simple things that have the biggest impact. And sometimes because they're simple or small, they get overlooked, or we even take them for granted, or we assume that other people know them too. And so these keyboard shortcuts are things that I don't want to assume that anyone knows, and we certainly don't want to overlook them. So we want to highlight them and share them with you so that hopefully you might find a couple of good habits, and it'll make your life a little bit more simple with your online activities. So the Windows key. That's the first key that we're going to talk about, and it is a key on your keyboard. And usually it's in the bottom left corner of your keyboard. So if you're at a computer right now, you can see this window key. If you're watching this on another device, say an iOS device or something like that that doesn't have a keyboard, the next time you open your laptop, look for that Windows key. And it has just a little window on it. It's easy to identify. So when you tap the window key by itself, it brings up the start menu. And the start menu is a place that has all the apps that are already on your Windows computer. And you'll notice in this particular screenshot, now this isn't my start menu. Mine doesn't have this many apps on it that you can look through. So I picked this one because it has more to choose from. But there's really two parts to this start menu. On the left side, you'll have a list of every single application that you have on your computer. And when I say application, I mean like program, like anything from the Microsoft Office suite, your Word documents, your publisher, going into PowerPoint, all the way through to your camera. If your laptop has a camera on it, you can find how to use the camera or the access to the camera through this little menu on the left. You can customize how you look at these apps. You can look at them based on what you've recently added to your computer or what you use the most. The way I use my list here is I have them alphabetized so that I always know, okay, if I'm looking for Microsoft Word, I'm going to scroll down to the M's. Or if I'm looking for something that I don't have, on the right side. Notice on the right side, we've got some little squares or rectangles that have pictures in them of the icons from these apps. And again, this is another quick way to access those things. So let's say that you want to access your Google Chrome and you don't have that icon anywhere else on your computer. If you click the Windows key, according to this, if you were looking at this on your computer, you could just click that little Google Chrome icon and it'll take you straight to that application. So this is kind of a launching point for different apps on your computer if you don't have shortcuts for them saved on your desktop. Now, when I say desktop, I'm talking about what you see when you turn your computer on, you log in, and you have a screen pops up that has all kinds of little icons on it, little folders and things like that. That's your desktop. And so when I talk about later, the little game changers that we're going to talk about, we'll be using our desktop for a lot of that. So the Windows key is a very important key. And when we click it all by itself, this is what we see. Now, the Windows key does not work all by itself. It does other things too when you click it in combination with other keys. For example, if you click the window key with an arrow, it will split your screen. And you might think, I don't know that I would need that. When would I need that? Well, I'll tell you, I use split screen all the time. In my work, I might be filling out a spreadsheet that I'm getting information from out of an email. And so a spreadsheet might be from Microsoft Excel Microsoft Excel. And then the information might come out of my email. And so I might need to look at both of those things at the same time. So I could use a split screen for that. Now at work, I am very fortunate enough to have two actual computer screens. So usually what will happen is I'll pull the spreadsheet over to one screen and then I'll look at the source, in this case, maybe my email or something like that, on the other screen. But I'm working on my laptop at home. I don't have two screens. So I can still do the same thing that I'm used to by splitting the screen. And what that does is it takes half of the screen and shows one application. And then the other half of the screen, I can put another application. So for example, in this particular screenshot, what I'm showing you is on the right side, I've clicked the Windows key and the right arrow, and that split my screen into two places, and it took the thing that I was working on and moved it to the right because I clicked the right arrow. And this happens to be this particular slide that I was working on at the time. And then on the left side of the screen, it gives me an option of what I want to put up. And so right now you can see there's a little Livingston Parish Public Schools screen there. That's my Chrome web browser. And at the time, the only other application I had open on my computer with the PowerPoint was that Chrome web browser. And so that's the only other option that I had. Now, I could also choose my desktop if I wanted to click outside of there. But if I had several things open at the same time, all of those things would pop up on the left side, and I could pick which one I wanted to look at along with the PowerPoint that I put. And so using a split screen kind of helps, I don't know, people like me that I have a little trouble tracking sometimes. And so it's just easier to see things side by side. The other thing that the window key can do is something called a screenshot. And a screenshot can be important if you're looking to capture something that's on your screen. Say it's an image or something. Now, of course, you can right click, copy image, things like that. But sometimes you can't do that if you're looking at web images. Sometimes it'll only let you copy the website or the web address itself. Or there are some times when you might not want to save the whole file or save it to your computer. And so if you click the window key and there's another key at the very top of your keyboard that has PRTSC, print screen, if you click those two buttons at the same time, it literally takes a snapshot of your entire computer screen. And so rather than fighting with where I'm going to click and things like that, if you just take the screenshot of your entire screen, it puts it on your clipboard and you can paste that into whatever document you're working in. And if it's too much, like if you don't want your whole screen, like all of your web browser information, you could always go in and crop that out. And that's pretty much what I do for a lot of the stuff on this presentation. And so that is print screen with the Windows key. Now, there's another really, really cool app on the Windows computers called the snipping tool. Now, I will tell you, the snipping tool is something that we teachers absolutely love. And it does kind of the same thing, except we can control what we copy or what image we copy because it gives us the opportunity to click and drag so we can select what we want to copy or to capture, to put into whatever. And so it just gives us some versatility and some options for creating things. And it's just very fast and efficient. But that print screen with the window key, super quick. The other thing that you can do with the Windows key that's maybe not so much about efficiency, but it's about safety. And that's when you click the Windows key and the letter L on your keyboard. When you do that, when you click those two keys simultaneously, it locks your screen. So you might want to use this awesome shortcut in a situation where you may step away from your desk for a minute and you don't want the information that's on your computer either to be seen by other people, or you don't want the things that you have logged into your computer to be vulnerable to anyone that just might be walking by. But you don't want to close out of everything because you're going to come right back. And so a really, really fast and effective way to protect what's on your computer and to protect your identity and to protect yourself is to just lock your screen. And you do that by clicking the Windows key and the L key at the same time. And so what happens is it automatically goes to your lock screen and you'll have to log back in order to get back into the applications that you were working in. And you don't have to close out and open back up everything. And without your personal password, the stuff can't be accessed. So it's a way to keep things safe. As a parent, I would strongly recommend this to my kids because, in a classroom, they might have their laptops in front of them and they might be working on something. And then suddenly, okay, the teacher wants you to get into small groups to do something. And in classrooms, the small groups might be moved around the room. So I might have to walk away as a student from my computer for a little while. So if we help our kids get into the habit of Windows key L to lock their screens, we know that that's giving them just another layer of protection to make sure that their work is safe and their digital identities are protected. Okay, so the Windows key is pretty cool, but there's another power key that we should all be using, and that is the control key. And I think the control key is probably more famous and more popular than the Windows key, but I could be wrong about that. But the control key is very important. So what I've done here is I've put a list of many of the things that you can press, or many of the keys that you can press in combination with the control key that do magic things on the computer. And so most of the combination keys that go with the control key kind of make sense. So for example, if I have a piece of text that I've selected that I want to copy, well, I click Control C. And that makes sense because the word copy starts with the letter C. And that's easy to remember. However, when you copy something, most of the time, you're going to paste it somewhere else. And so you might think, well, if Control C is copy, then Control P must be paste. No, it's not. Control P will print whatever it is that you have selected. So you can't use the letter P for two different things on your computer because we aren't quite to that place yet where the computer just reads our minds. I feel like we might be almost there, but we're not quite there yet. So the letter V is the key that we press to paste something. And you might think, okay, how am I going to remember that? V, there's no V in the word paste. It doesn't make any sense. Well, when you look at your keyboard, the letter C, Control C, the letter C is on the bottom row of your keys, and the letter V is right next to it. So Control C, copy, Control V, paste. The other key that I use a whole lot is Control X. And that's to cut something. So if I've selected a piece of text that I want to delete all at the same time, rather than hitting that backspace key over and over again, which I do that sometimes, but that's okay. I will select the text and click Control X at the same time, and that will cut it. And this is another one of those situations where Control X and cut, well, we've already used the letter C when we're copying, so we had to come up with another letter to cut. Well, I guess I'm not sure. I can't really say this for sure, but I would think that whenever the powers that be that were creating all these shortcuts looked at it and went, well, on a regular piece of paper, if I want to omit something, I just put an X on it. So maybe that makes sense. I don't really know. But also the letter X kind of looks like a little pair of scissors. So maybe that makes sense to someone. I don't know. But anyways, the other control letter combinations I have for you on the screen, Miss Nikki has made a cute little one-pager with some of these little reminders on them. And so I've asked her to maybe share that with us on the Google Guardians website with all the parent resources that we have. And notice on the screen, I have Control C, Control V, and Control X in a box. And I did that because those are honestly the three that I use every single day, all day long, no matter what I'm doing. I'm always copying and pasting something, some data out of one place into another place. And it just makes my life so much easier rather than either finding the little cut and paste or copy and paste icons at the top of my screen, or even right clicking on my mouse and scrolling down copy and paste. This just makes things so much more quick and efficient. And so those are your shortcuts using the control key. Another awesome key is the shift key. Now the shift key, normally we just use that to help us make capital letters, right? Well, it has a secret power that a lot of people don't know about. And the way we could use the shift key to help us is when we are selecting text. And what we do is you would use the shift key. You would take your mouse and click on the space right in front of where you want to start your selection. And then you would scroll down, just click it and let it go. And then you would scroll down to the bottom of wherever that text ends that you want to stop copying. And you would hit the shift key and click on your mouse again. And magically, everything in between those two clicks is highlighted. And so it is selected. When something is highlighted like you see on the screen, it is selected. And so it's telling your computer, I need to pay attention to this group of characters because the user wants to do something with these. And so I find it very difficult when I'm working with a table to select text for a particular reason, because a lot of times it just wants to select everything in that cell. And maybe I don't want everything in the cell. Maybe I just want a particular piece of text. So I use the shift key and the left mouse select a lot when I'm working in a table. Another time I would use this is when I'm looking at a very large piece of text that I might not be able to see on my screen all at one time. I can literally click at the top of it, scroll, 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 scroll until I find the end of what I want to select, and then hover over that last little space and then hit the shift key and click with my mouse, and all of that in between has been selected. So again, another little tip for you, if you've ever been in a situation like that, hopefully this information would help you. Okay, part 2, the game changers. This is a part of the presentation that I'm so excited about. These are very small practices, but they have a huge impact on efficiency. Now, what does it mean to be efficient? Well, it means to be fast and accurate. You know, we can be fast all day and have tons of mistakes, or we could be correct, like every piece of our work is correct, but it took us forever to get there. So being efficient puts those two things together. Fast and accurate means efficient. And so working with digital media, working in this digital age, we do so many things so much faster than we did before. And so these game changers are going to help you be even more efficient than you were before. So the first game-changing tip that I have for anyone working in a Windows-based program or on a PC, and like Miss Nikki said before, if you're a Livingston Parish student or a parent using a computer that we use here in the district, you're working in Windows. And so one of the things that I would recommend to anyone is to create folders on your desktop to help keep your things organized, okay? So when you save something, you can save it into one of those folders, and your desktop is right there in your face all the time. And so this way, you know I can find what I need to because it's always right there. So the way that you create a folder on your desktop, it's just 3 little steps. The first thing that you would do is use your mouse and hit the right click button, that little button on your mouse that's on the right side. When you do that, this menu that you see pops up. You can do several things using the right click on your mouse. You can view things, you can look at, you can sort the icons on your desk, things like that. You can undo a delete that you just did. This is another way that you can copy and paste things. If you've selected something and you right click, you can copy it. If you don't use our handy dandy control copy, but you can also paste the same way. And you can see on the screen, you can do several things with just the right click on the mouse. However, once you've right-clicked, you can see there are some things, and if you hover over the word new, that tells the computer that the user wants to create something new. So once you hover over that word new, another submenu pops up, and you see several things that we can do from there. So the third thing you might want to do is to click on the word folder. This tells the computer, I want to create a new folder. And sure enough, once you click that, you'll see on your desktop looks like a little manila folder pop up, and it's going to say new folder. If you would like to rename it, which I highly recommend, you can rename it then. If you do this a whole bunch of times, you'll see new folder 2, new folder 3, new folder 4, and so on and so on. And so if you were trying to get organized, I would recommend creating these folders and then naming them by the classes that you're using or the kinds of things that you want to put in these folders. So it might not be your classes, it might be study guides, tests, or whatever it is that you want to save and get to quickly. The great thing about this idea, not just the tip of creating folders, but this idea of creating folders and putting them somewhere that you can organize your stuff. This also works if you are working in Google Drive, which lots of our students are working in Google Classroom this year. And so in your Google Drive, you can do the same exact thing. You can create folders and organize your documents into those folders. And it works in Office 365 OneDrive. Google Drive and OneDrive are pretty much the same thing, except one is a Google-based cloud and the other is a Microsoft Office-based cloud. But the idea of creating these folders, trust me, just do it. You're going to make your life so much more simple if you create these folders and you can get to them quickly.
I'm going to pop in right here, Stacey, and agree with you 100%. If you take the time, and really you can take a little time here and a little time there to organize it, put stuff into folders, and you will save yourself so much time later. Do that. If you do nothing else, do that.
Yes. And that actually transitions us beautifully into my next quote. If you're not careful, you can spend your whole life looking for what you've lost, right? And so I look at our little fella here and I think he's kind of looking for things. And I don't know about anyone else, but I remember, whenever we first started using documents online and things like that, one of my worst habits was forgetting to save them. The great thing about working in Office in a OneDrive or working in Google Drive, a lot of those documents will auto-save, but if you're working in your desktop, it doesn't auto-save. So we got to get ourselves in the habit of saving our work. However, if we are like, yay, I remember to save my work, but now I can't find it, I don't know where it saved to, that's going to be the next tip that I want to share with you, is making sure that when you save your documents to your computer somewhere, you know where to go to find them again. And really, it just takes a little bit of knowledge of how the computer thinks. So the first thing I want you to be aware of is this little thing called the File Explorer. Now, a lot of times in a Windows-based home screen, you'll see at the very bottom in your taskbar, if you look on the screen that I'm showing now, that little black bar at the bottom of the blue picture, that's called your taskbar. And you can actually pin things to your taskbar that you use a lot. So for example, on my taskbar, I've got my File Explorer, I've got my Chrome icon, I've got a Word document icon, so that if I want to open a new Word document, I just click there. I don't have to go and do that thing that I showed you before where you go click the Windows key and look in the menu. This is an even faster shortcut that I've created for myself. But that's a little bit of a rabbit trail. I'll get back on track. The File Explorer is the part of your computer that when you open it, it's kind of like the branch of the tree. So when you look at the branch of the tree, you look up and you see all the different places that things can be stored, all the different files, basically. And so to do that, to find that, if you already have the icon on your taskbar, you would click it. But if you don't, you can also find something in the search bar. Now notice on that same picture, there's a white rectangle at the bottom where it says type here to search. That's your search area. And so you would click whatever it is you're looking for. So for example, in the right picture, I've typed in File Explorer and look what popped up. The File Explorer. And so from this place, you can pin that to your taskbar. You can just click on it to access it. But that's the File Explorer icon. And that's kind of like the door that you open to see where all of your other stuff is. Okay. So when you open the File Explorer, this is what it looks like. Notice on the left side, you see desktop, downloads, documents, pictures. And here you've got little folders. That says on my computer, FSE logo. I work at French Settlement Elementary. And so we have a new logo. So I have a folder on my computer that I use a lot that just has our new logo in it. And I also have a folder called FSE Stuff. So anything that I have that's related to French Settlement Elementary that I wanted to save on my computer, I put it in the FSE Stuff. I'm very professional. I put it in the Stuff folder. So anyways, the point is that this is your File Explorer, and this kind of opens up, this is the key that opens up where all of your other things can be found. Now, a couple of very important points. The downloads folder. You see the arrow pointing to the downloads folder. If you download something from the web, let's say that your teacher sends you a PDF of some kind, or if you have an attachment to an email, anything that your computer has to download from the internet, it's going to automatically, by default, think, okay, I belong with the downloads. And you can actually go back and find where you downloaded it in the downloads folder. So one huge mistake that we make all the time, and just pay attention to this the next time you download something. If you download the same exact file over and over and over again, instead of going back and looking for it in your downloads folder, you'll notice that the name changes. It might be, let's say that, I don't know, I'm just going to say English 4 syllabus, okay? Sounds fancy. So if I downloaded the English 4 syllabus from my teacher and I read it and I just closed it out and I was like, I'm not going to save that, I'll read it later. But then you think, oh my gosh, I don't know when the tests are. I need to get the syllabus back out. So you go back through all the motions and you find that syllabus again, you download it again. This time it's going to say English 4 syllabus in parentheses 2. Because your computer knows, hey, I've seen this before. I'm going to make sure that this is a different copy than what I've had before. And so in order to, and keep in mind, every time we do that, it's stored on our computer. So it kind of eats away at the space that we have on the computer. So tip number 2.1, I guess, in here would be, make sure that when you're downloading something, downloading a file that you're going to use over and over again, go ahead and save it in one of those handy dandy folders that I told you about earlier. And that way you can access it already on your computer. Also, if you forget to do that and you're like, I forgot what Stacey said, I really need to go back and download that. Go to this downloads folder, open it up, and your document will be there in the downloads. Hope that makes sense. So the last thing that I want to say before we move on from downloads is that let's say that you downloaded a Word document and you made some changes to it and then you saved it. Well, if you just click save and you don't tell it where to go, you just click save, well, good for you. You saved it, but you saved it back in the downloads folder. It's gonna stay where it came from. So if you want to put it in one of those handy folders, you have to save it into one of those folders. And I'll tell you how to do that in just a minute. So downloads is important, and I'm just realizing that my arrow is pointing to the word documents, but downloads is right above that. Downloads is an important folder. So here's a quick peek at my recent downloads. Okay, I wanted to just share with you some of my downloads. Oh, look, it's pointing to the right picture now. But my most recent downloads, notice on the right side of the screen, it's divided by time. So today, what I downloaded today, what I downloaded yesterday, what I downloaded earlier this week, or even last week. So even if I didn't save something and I think, oh gosh, that Excel file that was so important, that had some great information, I know I downloaded it, so I can actually find it in my downloads folder and go back and look at it that way. And maybe it's not something that I want to keep on my computer all the time, but that's a good way to find it. Now, your documents folder, oh look, it's pointing to the right one now. So your documents folder is another folder that you can access in the File Explorer. And your documents folder is the default folder for any file you create in Microsoft Office. So if you open a Word document and you start typing away and you just click save, awesome, that's good. You did a good thing, but it's going to automatically save it to your documents folder. So if you're writing a paper for your English 4 class, and it's beautiful and it's perfect and you saved it and you did great and you're going to be able to retrieve it, if you go to your English 4 folder on your desktop, it's not going to be there. It's going to be in your documents folder. So if you want to save your stuff in a place where you can find it again, you have to tell your computer where you want it to go. And so the way you do that is you would click Save As. So notice in this little screenshot, we've got save, and that's good, but it's going to go to the default location or the place that it's already located. But if you click Save As, then you can specify where you want that file to go. So by clicking Save, sends it to the default location. Save As will give you the power to tell that computer where you want to save your file so that you can find it when you need to. All right, so that's my presentation. I'm so thankful that you guys came and listened to me yabber on for a few minutes. I hope you found at least one thing that you can take away with you that will be helpful.
There is so much good stuff here. Like, I'm thinking my kid needs to sit down because his school this year, they're bringing home Windows 10 devices and they are bringing them back and forth every single day. And I'm like, he needs to sit here and he needs to learn how to do all of these things.
Yeah. And also, like I said earlier, if you're working in one of the online clouds or the online platforms like Google Drive or OneDrive, a lot of these things kind of transfer over. The one good thing about those platforms is the autosave kind of thing.
Yes.
As far as the organization and being able to find things when you need them, again, efficient, fast, and accurate. And I think that's going to make our students super students, and we're going to take this thing on to the next level, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I agree. And these kids are learning it at such an early age. It's kind of scary to think about where they're going to be when they're seniors in high school.
Yeah. I remember the first time I got on the internet. It was so surreal. I was married. I was already married, and we got on the internet, and I remember thinking, this is a game changer right here. This is
I kept thinking it was a fad. Like, well, this ain't gonna last.
Yeah.
And look at me now.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Stacey, for doing this today. We'll see you guys soon. We've got Google Guardians, Google Classroom in Mandarin coming up next. And tomorrow we have How to Talk to Your Adolescent, the adolescent and teenage brain with Jared Hegwood. And we've got a few other great sessions too. Check them out at our website, which is located right here. Hop on. All sessions are recorded live, and so you can watch them later, live or later. So see you soon. Thank you for coming.